almost like a movie, I feel like, is always playing for him, where he understands there's an audience that's watching, and they're gonna feel some type of way depending on how I act when I'm up here on stage. And that stage is everyday life for him.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
100%. A real gem, man, is, and you hit on something really big, is you can derive a lot of confidence from understanding how to become comfortable in different situations. Not immediately running and fleeing and being like, oh man, I feel weird. But if you can pause for a little bit and say, okay, how can I expose myself to the situation to become more comfortable?
Yeah.
That proprioception, that ability to internally scan your body and be like, how do I feel right now?
Yes, especially when like it's elevated.
Yeah.
Right? If your heart's beating fast, it's so hard to do it in that moment. It's easy to do it when you're in a car chilling.
Yeah.
But if it's like, yo, like fight or flight, okay, how am I feeling?
Yeah.
That's almost never the first thought that comes to your head.
Exactly. And that's so powerful when you think about it, even in the context of business. If you're presenting.
What is going on?
What's good, y'all?
Back at it again with another Founders Drive.
Yes. Why don't we start off with a little Constance update?
Yeah, dude. We came out with previews this week.
Yes.
So we've got item specific.
Okay, yes. What do you mean by previews?
Yeah, we've got item specific previews to show you exactly how your customers are going to see your item when they go to check out. And we added whole shop previews. So you can see kind of what other people are going to see when they visit your shop. And you can do all of that inside of Constance.
Yeah, so while you're setting up your shop, you're managing your shop, while you're managing your social links, while you're managing your memberships, and all of that together, you can see a preview of what that looks like on a mobile screen, and you can see the end result of that. And it's basically just a small digital storefront. It's not a full website, but it's enough for people to get started with business, get started with entrepreneurship, get started making some money on the platform.
And this is just the start of the customization that we have planned.
Of course.
We have a bunch of customization, really dope customization planned to be able to really show your personality through these sites or these pages to, attract the people that are going to buy the products from you on the site. So
exactly. And some people might look at it and say that's similar to the link tree, similar to Stan. I think that we have a lot more.
Some might say that.
A lot more backing that link, that landing page than some of these other platforms. So check it out. It's
free. It's free.
It's free to get started. We definitely have some enhanced stuff there. We have a really cool AI bot that assists in the whole platform. But just for the people that aren't aware of what Constance is a platform designed for the creative entrepreneur in 2025. There's a lot of people that are confused right now with what they're going to be doing to earn money. Elon Musk keeps talking about how there's going to be no need for work. And I don't really know quite what to make of that, because work is just how we expend energy. Yeah. And so if he's saying that there's no work in the future, that doesn't really make sense. It smells like a lot of bullshit to me. But the main thing is that there's a lot of confusion right now with all of the changes that AI is introducing. And people are confused on where they're going to be getting the next job. And I personally think that there's just going to be less jobs in the future. Less necessity for people to get you to do something for them, because we have a lot of tools at our disposal in the form of AI agents, bots that are going to be able to help us out and allow us to do more things and pursue more entrepreneurial endeavors. And
we've seen this with the rise of all these revolutions we've had, right? The traditional job has always kind of drifted away, right? Farming, and then you went into the factory, and now you went into the digital space, and now we're transforming again. And so the traditional work that even you do today is being transitioned away from into this new era. And so check out Constance.
There's a huge opportunity on that when you talk about it, and especially when you talked about farming, how we started there. It used to be that everybody would earn off of the hunting and gathering or off of the land.
Right. That was like primitive stuff.
So if you're a landowner, then that was the main way that you were going to get wealthy. But then industry came around and it created all of these other opportunities. There was a transitionary period, but it did create these opportunities where people could get wealthy off of just being in industry owning the means of production or getting a job with somebody who owns the means of production. And
they can mass produce stuff to be able to pay you
exactly.
to do that.
We talked about Henry Ford on the last episode.
We did, yeah.
And that was a primary case of that, where he was like, we're so efficient right now, we can mass produce these things and pay people a livable wage where they just show up, knock this work out, and then they can go and live the rest of their lives and pursue what they want.
Yeah.
But now we're in a space, and that actually continued all the way through until the AI revolution.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because even with early tech, that was still an industry supported space where people owned either the servers, people owned these big websites and these SaaS companies.
Right.
And that was the primary way that people got rich. And I'm not just talking about like surviving. I'm talking about the ways that you can get rich. But now we live in this space where AI has enabled entrepreneurship as a means where right now we don't have to do traditional industry work to get wealthy. We can leverage AI and we can leverage other digital resources that allow us to be more entrepreneurial. And by entrepreneurial, I mean it allows us to just work and do things that we want to do to prevent risk or prevent not being able to earn. So
yeah, the barrier to entry before was so high to start a business.
Yeah.
And now it's so low that risk is basically taken off the table.
Yeah. Well, I've talked with two of my mentors and they were saying, they both asked me the question. Well, one asked me the question and then I brought it to the other mentor and she was like, I agree with your first mentor. But the idea was that, and this is before a lot of the layoffs started to happen, before the AI really took place and companies were like, oh, we can't hire these, like a lot of people because we don't know what the future holds. But they asked me if I thought everybody should be an entrepreneur. At first I was like, do I think that? But now my answer is I think everybody can be an entrepreneur. Everybody has a capability to be a successful entrepreneur. Yeah. And it's becoming easier and easier to do that based off of the current climate. And I think the numbers show that. The numbers just show it. It's obvious. More than 48,000 people have gotten laid off by UPS. Starbucks, over 1,000 people, and people are picketing and rioting and having these whole union contracts. And it's like, I don't know how far they're going to get because it's not like Starbucks is doing the best that they've been doing. Right. They're going through their own adjustment period. Target, same idea. And a lot of this is from overhiring in the past. But when we look at it, it's because we're just in a transitionary period. So again, I can go on and on about this stuff, but check it out. There's a lot there. You got anything more on that?
I have so much more on that, but we should really dive into today's founder, which we'll be able to weave in some of the things that we just talked about into his story. Yeah. So I think we should just dive in.
Okay, so
drum roll, please.
Drum roll, please. The person that we are talking about today is Curtis 50 Cent Jackson.
Yes, Curtis Jackson.
Curtis Jackson. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson.
Most people know him by 50 Cent.
Yes. The
2 quarters.
Yeah. He's obviously like the rapper, music mogul, entertainer. He's now
culture icon.
Yeah, he's now in TV and production. But all of his beginnings start in the music and in the entertainment space. Well, actually, it starts in the drug space, then it evolved into the entertainment space. But the real reason why we wanted to focus on him today is that there's also a lot of, he has a really sharp business mind. He processes information really fast, knows how to create an opportunity, and knows how to move people, move the masses, and tap into the culture.
He moves very smart.
Yes.
Like, I was surprised diving into some of the research on just how much this guy wins. Holy crap.
And across spaces. And and it's especially like there's a few people, like there's a few rappers, I'll say, that really take it to another level and turn the audience that they got from their performing career into business. That's a completely separate endeavor.
Who are like 2 off the top of your head?
Jay-Z, 50 Cent,
Kanye.
Kanye. Kanye is a little bit more, but in terms of like the
sneakers
products,
and stuff?
Sneakers, shoes, fashion, the industry that he spun it into.
Yeah, Jay-Z's a good one for sure. Billionaire, you know.
Kanye, billionaire.
Yep.
50 Cent, I don't really know. I'm thinking it's a few hundred mil.
At least.
But the thing with a lot of these people too is like you don't really know what you're not counting. You know?
Yeah. It can be hard to pocket watch some of these people.
Right. And like the names are so big and personal brands are so huge at this time where it's like, how far can you actually take it?
Yeah, the other thing I like is that, and just like an aside, but in terms of personal wealth, right, net wealth or net worth, whatever the calculation you want to come up with, they don't ever include what you can call in as a favor.
Yeah.
They don't ever include your network.
Yeah.
And so if like, hey, I know this other billionaire that can come do a favor for me, they don't include that in your network.
And that's like, to me, is a huge portion of wealth.
Right.
Is your social capital.
Yes.
Can you call in, like you said, can you call in a favor? Can you get in a room? Can you learn some game?
Well, you know the line, right? Your network is your net worth.
Your network is your net worth. And it's so true. And it's becoming more and more true today.
Yes.
It's just becoming more and more obvious. And that's, honestly, if we talk about constants, that's a huge thing. I think rappers are really good at that. We're starting to see, these rappers are really good at that, is cultivating a personal brand. Like, who am I? You create an alter ego, and becomes a huge part of your persona and what you, like, that part that you create. A lot of people do it consciously. Some people are more fake about it than others.
Of course, of course.
And I think 50 Cent has called some of that out. Just as a disclaimer, this is not going to be one of the podcasts where we go into his extensive beef history. There's a lot. We could. And
spend a lot of time on that.
And there is a lot out there already. I encourage you to go and look at it because
it's fun.
It's its own lane.
Lore, yeah.
Right. But there is the idea of creating a persona and using that to not only express yourself or express a certain side of yourself, but to also
capture value,
resonate with an audience.
Yeah.
But the heart of it, what I'm getting at, is that personal branding.
Yes.
It's like that thing is what we're starting to see people in the tech space start to do. Like when you look at somebody like an Elon Musk,
Zuckerberg, you can see his transformation.
Exactly. And I'm willing to put this out there. It's like, I think that's a large reason why they're successful. Like they have great businesses, but their personal brand took a already great business to another level.
100%.
Like the fact that you see an Elon Musk hanging out with a Kanye, hanging out with a Joe Rogan, a Dave Chappelle, telling jokes, going into the White House. Talk about personal brand. Donald Trump.
All the way to the White House.
Right? It's like, that's how powerful a personal brand is. And 50 Cent is one of those people that is an expert at that. He's been able to do it at a high level, and I think it does stem from a place of authenticity. But
it does. But he wasn't always 50 Cent. He wasn't. At one time he was Curtis Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, and growing up certainly wasn't the nice white picket fence scene for him.
No.
He lost his mom very early. I think he was 8 years old.
Yeah. So he was born in Southside Jamaica, Queens, in New York, and he was born in 1975. Like you're right, his mother died in 1983 when he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
She died in a fire, but she was dealing drugs, and that might have been related to that. I'm not sure. But he describes that as like a huge part of his life. Like even now, he's like, that was the most traumatic experience in his life, losing his mother at such a young age. And he talks about it too. He's like, everything that I do, I've done after that, is in the context of losing my mother at that age.
It's a very powerful moment.
Right? And so it's like, hard decisions aren't as hard when you have something traumatic to compare it to. So it's like, that curse that you see there is also
a blessing.
It can be a blessing, it can be a gift, but it takes a lot of mental fortitude to be able to translate that into something where you can make it.
And not just be down and just completely depressed about a tragedy, because it is a tragedy.
Yeah, and how do you make sense of that as a kid? So he grew up with his grandparents in the same area. He began boxing around 11 years old, 1986, and he talks about that as a really transformative aspect in his life. It taught him discipline, taught him consistency, how to prepare, how to train.
Getting punched in the face.
Right? How to get punched in the face, a big thing. But then he was also just like more of an individual mind in that respect, where it's like, I can control my own destiny. He talked about not really, in team sports, it's easy when something goes wrong to blame somebody else, and so this was just an avenue that suited his personality.
Yeah, who are you gonna blame if you get punched in the face?
Yeah, it's like me.
Who else is playing defense?
I only have me.
Yeah,
me. I'm the person to blame.
Exactly.
But then that moved into, like really soon after 12 years old, he started dealing drugs,
enterprising,
narcotics.
Enterprising.
Yeah, yeah. There's kids selling M&Ms, and there's kids selling narcotics, right? Yeah, on the street corner. But that was one of those things where he had to find and carve the time to actually sell drugs, because he was getting walks to school by his grandmother, and then after school, she was either picking him up or he was expected to be right back at 3 when they were out. And so an interesting story of a 12-year-old figuring this whole situation out is he ended up telling his grandma, like, hey, I don't want to walk, like, I don't like you walking me to school. Like, there's kids younger than me that are just walking by themselves. So he was able to get that time to get on the block. And then after school, he ended up signing up for some after school programs, went for a couple times, and then stopped attending. And that gave him the time from 3 to 6 to be on the block as well. He talks a little bit about that in terms of controlling perception and how that's a valuable skill that he's learned along the way. And
did it at a very young age.
Right.
Like, he didn't wait to start doing this stuff. He was, and I probably only connected with him a couple years later, but like, you can see even at the young age, he's starting to be like, all right, how can I change this? How can I make this situation work for me?
Right. And how people view you differently. Like, he wanted his grandmother to see him as a certain type of person. But then he also wanted to get involved in these other areas of his life. And that that fracturing created this whole alter ego in him. Actually, we could talk a little bit about that in the Founders Drive that we have, the super secret Founders Drive. Yeah, that's on Constance, by the way. We'll talk a little bit about, I'm gonna make a note for that because I want to talk a little bit about alter egos and how that has to do with
personal brand,
yeah, and how it can apply directly in the space of business. Because a lot of people have that alter ego, whether it's explicit or it's implicit. But keeping it moving, like, he ended up creating that space, getting into the drug scene. In 1994, he was arrested for selling some drugs to an undercover cop. And I believe he spent some time in, like, juvie.
That was his first run-in with the law, I believe.
Yeah.
And then got out, and very shortly after that got into music, I know.
Yeah. And so, without going all the way into his whole criminal record and focusing it on the lessons that he's learned, he, around 21 years old, met Jam Master Jay, started getting into music, started recording in a friend's basement. What was really interesting, I'll say this isn't necessarily placed in the timeline, but it's important to realize what's happening. He talked about how he recorded in a friend's basement. I can't remember the specific friend, but he talked about how he recorded in a friend's basement. And in his mind, he was like, this is my homie. I'm about to break him off anything that I get. And eventually when he got signed, this is a little bit later. So I think there's like maybe an 8-year gap, but it reminds me of it. Is when he got signed, he was like, I'm going to give this guy some of the money, break him off a percentage point of the album sales. But the guy came to him beforehand and said, hey man, I want $50,000 for when you recorded in my basement. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, $50,000. He was like, I thought that we kind of came up together and you never talked about it at the time.
Retroactively, asking for money is wild.
Well, it was exactly. And so then he says, all right, well, I'm going to give you $30,000 and a point off of the album when we sell it.
Yeah, I mean,
and this I think was Get Rich or Die Trying. So this was probably like 6 years after.
Would have been a lot of money.
And so then the guy said, no, I want the cash. He ended up giving him the cash, and then that percentage point. Well, actually, so then this is what he said in his book. He goes, he was like, if he was smart, even after he made that initial offer and I rejected it, he would have countered and said, all right, I was a little out of my mind. I need the money. But I do want, some type of recognition for that stuff, et cetera, et cetera. How about instead of the 50 grand, you give me 2 percentage points and then the 30 grand.
That would have been insane.
Right? And then 50 said, well, maybe.
He probably would have done it.
Well, he said this. He goes, he's like, I did respect him, so I probably would have met him in the middle around 1.5. And if you run those calculations, that comes out to, at the time of writing that book, $1.3 million. So you think about how much money he left on the table for wanting to grab right away.
And that was the mentality of everybody when this was happening.
Yeah, but
everybody was, no, just give me the cash up front.
Give me the cash up front. But that also happens like in all business dealings. It might not be the exact size or the exact amount, but it is one of those things where it's like, make sure that you negotiate, you don't get so fixated on a number that you lose sight of the long goal. Like another example is a guy named Gilly the Kid. He's a podcaster right now, former rapper. He's out of Philly. Early on in Gilly's career, 50 was saying that he listened to his music and he was like, I like him. He's new. I'm gonna go and co-sign him and bring him into the record label. This is when he was already at Interscope.
Yep.
And and Gilly's a successful podcaster right now. He's mostly saying like, hey, he kind of left some notoriety in his rap career on the table because he didn't end up taking this opportunity.
Right.
So he goes to Interscope and they offer him $1 million after 50 basically says he walks him in, which is basically like, hey, this
warm
is my guy. Warm introduction. We're gonna make, like, this is a guy that I'm gonna endorse publicly.
Right.
We're gonna take him. And then they saw the vision. They said, okay, we'll offer him $1 million, or it might have been slightly less than that.
Right.
Gilly said, I want $1 million. I think it was less than $1 million. He was like, I want $1 million. I want $1 million specifically. And he ended up
not getting it.
And then he said, all right, well, I don't want to be part of this.
Right.
And 50 was like, damn,
short-sighted.
It sucks because it just didn't get the love that it should have because he didn't have that connection. And just one more little anecdote to bring that around is 50 used his example when he was signing to Shady, how he had $1 million signing bonus. He could have asked for more, but it ended up being so much more worth it being connected to Eminem and being connected to Dr. Dre that the $1 million has paid itself back so many more times.
And he thanks himself for not fighting tooth and nail or killing the deal over something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's it's interesting being in the tech space. We've talked about this a little bit. We were just a little bit more aware of like the decisions you have in terms of the equity versus the cash.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the tech world, right? Any FANG software engineer that you know is forfeiting a little bit of salary, a lot of salary, in favor of equity. So like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Netflix, these engineers are getting a majority of their compensation in equity.
Yeah, to grow with the company.
Exactly, right? And that is the best play you can make, is to get the ownership stake, to get the equity, because that is compounding not just your work, but everybody's work at the company. And the entity itself can grow much more than your salary can.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how we have that perspective being in the tech space, but I know in like the music space and stuff, especially when 50 was coming up, it just wasn't that prevalent.
Yeah, and there's a really good example that you were talking about a little bit earlier with the vitamin water deal. So let's like run through a little bit more here and then get to that spot. But...
So I also just like, I know like the starting of the rap record, there was a very traumatic time in his life. The one moment I do want to call out, because I think there is a cool like exchange right there, is the fact that he got shot 9 times.
Yeah, so if we go like just kind of going through a little bit of like some moments on his timeline is, so in 1999 he signed to Columbia.
Right.
He ended up getting out of there. I think they like either killed the deal or he left for some reason. But 2000 he released Power of the Dollar, which was his first album. And then in 2000 is also when he was attacked by a gunman, and this attacked is like is a very like a word that I'm throwing out there just because I'm not trying to get into the whole story build up into like everything that happened, but he basically was shot 9 times
point blank
outside of his grandma's place. And
that's just like the amount of trauma that you have to, and obviously like if you're dealing drugs and you're in that kind of culture, or not culture, but like situation, it can happen. There's a lot of people probably with a lot of testosterone that are waving guns around, and there's a lot of emotions that happen with that stuff. But just to me, kind of taking a step back from it, the persona, you have a really good word for it, that the alter ego, or the character that he is portraying specifically in his music, I feel like was bolstered by his crime in terms of getting shot. That kind of gives you a lot of authenticity. To be like, yo, I'm in these streets, these things are happening to me, I can relate to what's happening. Like I'm living what's happening. I'm not just gonna like tell you about all these drugs, money, hoes, all these things. I'm actually gonna live the lifestyle. And I think that attracts people to his creative work, because it's like, okay, you're not just fronting. You're not just like oh, like 6ix9ine or something, how you're out here saying like, oh yeah, like we're gangsters. He's like, no, I'm literally a gangster.
Yeah, there's like a place of authenticity, a place of realness. And I think a lot of people, like, he talks about perception and the power of perception.
Yeah.
And he talks about how your perception doesn't mean that you have to be fake. He was like, I've lived 90+% of what I've done. And he was like, and there's a lot of stuff that I haven't even put out there. And I think that's true of a lot of people, right? Is like being able to know, okay, this is my life. But I think the whole idea of the persona is being able to cultivate a certain aspect of your experience, and then create a character around that. Not invent shit, but cultivating part of your own experience, and then making that front and center, and making that the relatable part of you. He talks about like energy. Like for the longest time, people have been trying to harness the power of water.
Sure.
And what they've done is like going all the way back to the ancient times in Greek and Rome with the aqueducts. And then you look at windmills and how people use it to generate energy. We drink it. We use all the energy, or we use water, I should say, in all these different areas where we drink it. We use it for power. We use it to filter different things. We use it to mix and create different, compounds. But we're not actually changing the form of energy. We're just redirecting it and shaping it to give us different uses. And that's how we can think about, I said water, but I meant water. But that's how we can think about energy, and our energy is that in our experience is that we can shape it so that way we can present it to different people and people can relate to us in different ways.
I think you're right. The one thing I want to just kind of point out is that I think there's a lot of it happening today. Even though there's a lot of talk about being authentic online and stuff like that, there's still people that are trying to copy what they see other people doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to use your own experiences, your own self-lived kind of, I guess, like life, to then try and be authentic through those means. You can't be copying somebody else.
Yeah.
And again, that's really prevalent nowadays in 2025. This guy was doing it back in 2000.
Right.
He was being hella authentic, which I think really contributed to his rise as a rapper.
Yeah. Well, he says he was quoted here. He said, "The greatest fear many people have is just being themselves."
Exactly.
When you pattern yourself closely after someone else, you're putting weak, ineffectual energy into the world. You're running away from your most inexhaustible power supply, which is being yourself.
Yep.
And so and he also said, influencing how people perceive you doesn't make you fake. It doesn't make you phony. It makes you someone who knows how to control energy to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we talk about so much on this podcast, is that if you are in your own lane, you're going to have so much more energy than anybody else. This is why we keep talking about showing your passions online. Yeah. You're going to be able to work on that stuff way longer than anybody else is, because you have that energy. That's kind of your superpower.
Yeah, it is your superpower. And there's like, it's way more worth embracing that than running away from it.
Yes.
But another thing that also leads into is the idea of finding fearlessness.
Fearlessness, yes.
Like
being able to face any scenario and not have any fear, which helps if
Well, I think
you've gone through some of that stuff.
Well, I think a big part of it is not having the fear, because fear, the way that I look at it, is like not being able to take action in the midst of the unknown. And so
that's interesting.
So so to me, fear is inaction, and it's like running away, or it's being scared. I think faith is when you believe that if you take a specific action, it'll lead to a better outcome, whether that's picking one choice over another, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And it's like being able to be present in the moment and be comfortable in the moment, to be able to recognize, okay, I don't really know how this is gonna end up, but I got to do something.
Yeah.
And I want to do something.
Right.
Or
even just being aware that, hey, I need to be in that situation. I need to be in that room, or I need to be in that deal, and not being afraid to either speak up or to speak your mind about, hey, like, I want to be maybe in this business deal or something like that too. I think that's also a big part of it, because you can get very just in your own kind of world.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that fear comes from, like, our bodies will react. Our heart will start beating fast, and then we'll start getting a lot of thoughts, and it'll cause this anxiety, and we can't find that place of calm in environments that are unknown
or chaotic,
chaotic and stressful. And so the weird paradoxical part of it is when we are exposed to more situations where we are fearful, it expands our radius. I know one of the early episodes that we talked about before we were specifically looking at founders, we were just kind of talking about some of these ideas, is we were talking about the idea of being comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And expanding your comfort radius. And the more that you explore your map of comfort, the more areas that you can move freely in and be yourself.
100%. And this isn't like us saying like, yeah, go get shot 9 times and you'll have a bunch of confidence. Like, that's not what we're saying.
Right.
But going through those lived experiences does help.
Well, and to that end, when he got shot 9 times, he talks about it openly. He was like, I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared. He was like, I got shot on my grandmother's block. And so after I got out of the hospital, I think it was like 13 days later or something like that. And he had a 6-month recovery.
Yep.
But after he got shot,
what am I going to do?
What am I going to do? And the first thing that he did just to get the fear out of his head, he was like, I was scared. He was like, he went on runs on that block. Like, I think daily. And he said it wasn't easy.
It wasn't just him. I think he asked a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going for a run tomorrow. Show up right now and we'll do it.
And it's hilarious because he was
easy to find how good your friends are at that point.
He was like, honestly, I asked a lot of these guys and they used to run with me. So I don't think that they didn't come because
can't run.
No. I don't think that they didn't come because they were scared of people. He was like, I think they didn't come because they couldn't, like, they just didn't want to run. They didn't want to exercise.
Dude, I really think it was they were scared. I really think it was because they were just like, nah, dude, you got shot up on this block. I don't want to get a shot up on this block.
Well, the reason why he said that, though, is like it happened. He was like, they were with him in like other violent altercations. So I don't think it is that he was like, these guys were just fucking lazy.
Yeah.
But he did have like one of his friends like ride along with him. He's like, I'm not running, but I'll come. And he like would tape a pistol in his bandage, and he would, and he'd be running there. Nobody came out. But it was one of those things where it mentally was like, you know, it got to him where like, I have to feel comfortable in my own neighborhood, like my own block.
Yeah. It's something that, again, is a theme I feel like comes back with 50's life, is the perception, but not only like his external perception, but also his internal perception of like, am I comfortable in my own grandmother's house, on my own block,
in
like
my own skin.
And then how do I change that so that I do feel comfortable? Okay, I'm gonna reclaim this territory. You're gonna see me out here, and he knows what impact that's gonna have on the people that are watching him. And so like that, almost like a movie, I feel like is always playing for him, where he understands there's an audience that's watching, and they're gonna feel some type of way depending on how I act when I'm up here on stage. And that stage is everyday life for him.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
100%. A real gem, man, is, and you hit on something really big, is you can derive a lot of confidence from understanding how to become comfortable in different situations. Not immediately running and fleeing and being like, oh man, I feel weird. But if you can pause for a little bit and say, okay, how can I expose myself to the situation to become more comfortable? That proprioception, that ability to internally scan your body and be like, how do I feel right now?
Yes, especially when like it's elevated.
Yeah.
Right? If your heart's beating fast, it's so hard to do it in that moment. It's easy to do it when you're in a car chilling.
Yeah.
But if it's like, yo, like fight or flight, okay, how am I feeling? That's almost never the first thought that comes to your head.
Exactly. And that's so powerful when you think about it, even in the context of business. If you're presenting, if you're, you know, going to talk to a new client, if you're, whatever it might be, having a difficult conversation with an employee or a partner, being able to keep a centered sense of calm, like a grounding, is really powerful. And the big takeaway here is that it's not just done in the moment. 50 had to condition his mind to be able to get comfortable in that situation again, because he just had a traumatic experience. And that's, again, the big thing is like, don't just try to do it in the first time. Practice, expose yourself, get a friend to be like, hey man, I'm a little like scared right now. We just went through some shit. I need you here to help me out. Can you do that for me?
Right.
Because I need to prepare for, you know, the future or a different moment, or I need to rebuild my strength. I need to get better. Like, that's such a powerful takeaway, and it translates into other areas. It's the same reason why athletes train so hard. It's the same reason why a boxer might train so hard. Is like, if I don't practice here, I'm going to get hit in the face. and I'm not gonna like that. So I need to practice. I need to go through a camp, and I need to get myself in that shape that allows me to have that sense of comfort.
Yep.
And readiness when I step into the ring or step into the boardroom.
100%. I think going back to his his story, right, in the rapping, he got shot. I know like in these early days, he also had a spirit label, right? I think he was selling alcohol, which I don't think he's a drinker.
No, he does. Yeah, he doesn't drink.
Right, but I think he started selling spirits.
Yeah.
I don't think it went. I think he has a better label now.
Yeah, cider spirits.
Right.
Yeah,
than he did previously.
Yeah,
but
I think it might have been. I don't know the specific name of it.
I don't remember what it was, but I think he was getting into that pretty early. And then I heard this story, and he was kind of. I think it was on Flagrant. He was talking about. He was like, yeah, I was looking around, and everybody was getting into the spirit game. Kind of like everybody was asking for cash.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, well, how can I run the other way? How can I go the exact opposite way? So if everyone's in spirits, maybe I get into vitamins.
With the vitamin water. Yeah. He was like, because he doesn't drink, and he was like, at every event, people drinking water. Like, that's the number one thing that sells.
Yeah.
And so there was a time where he was either at some event or like a boxing gym or something like that, and he grabbed a vitamin water, and he was like, oh, this tastes good. Like, I like this. And then to get vitamin water's attention, he recorded some promotional thing for something else, but he grabbed the vitamin water, made sure that they saw it, put it in his bag, and then like the rest is history.
And that was before it was acquired by Coca-Cola. And so it was like a private company that was obviously had a really good product. Vitamin water is great. I like vitamin water. But he did the other thing that was counter to what everybody else was doing, right? Everyone else around him was like, yo, give me the $1 million deal, give me the cash up, give me that 30 grand. He goes, no, I want equity. I want 10% of your company, because I can market it, I can sell it for you, I can be the face of this product, or help you guys at least, and I want equity for that. That right there was
it's a savvy business move.
That is a step into a new stratosphere. Not only financially for 50, but also becoming just who he is today. I feel like it's like a step function.
You're playing like a higher level of game. You're playing ownership, and you're being in, like, even just setting up the deal all the way from the start, where it's like, okay, how do I get their attention in a way where they see that I can promote this idea?
It's like you're proving your worth in the first introduction. Like, that is some kind of foresight that is incredibly important. Eventually, vitamin water ends up selling to Coca-Cola for around 1.5 billion, I think, somewhere around there. And that 10% turned into
250 mil. What,
a quick little couple hundred million. So it's certainly interesting, because like I believe that was more than all of his record sales.
I believe so.
At the time.
Yeah, I believe so. And that's another thing too, is like record labels are very much around, like, a big service that record labels provide was distribution.
Right.
That's why
and that's breaking a little bit up today. We're seeing a little bit of a disruption
with Spotify, Apple Music, and the whole
SoundCloud.
digital sales, YouTube, all of that. It's really taken that out of the record label's hands, that whole industry, where we sign you, we basically distribute everything. And a lot of artists got taken advantage of early on.
We'll give you a loan. And then when you make sales, you have to pay us back.
Exactly. This ridiculous amount. And they just have this crazy markup, but you don't even realize it, because you have this huge upfront advance.
Right.
There's actually a lot of parallels with the record label industry and the venture capital space.
There is.
I think the record labels used to take advantage more of the artists,
the founders, creatives,
but in the VC space, the same dynamic, more so today, where it's basically you come to us and we get you the distribution, we'll get you in the right hands, we'll get you in the right publications, in the right events, and we want this much of your company. Like, I need, like Shark Tank, right? I need at least like 30% to feel like I
wake up in the morning.
I wake up in the morning. It's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, no, you're just saying that for me to feel invested, I need at least 49%, you know? Like, it's like, okay.
But it is that equity play that I feel like was just such a smart move that I guess we're seeing more and more now.
Yeah.
And just being, like I said, in the tech space, we're a little more aware of it. But this was not
gatekeepers
in 2025.
Is what it was. It's
yes.
Like different forms of gatekeeping.
Exactly. And then being able to get a couple $100 million brings you out of that.
Yeah.
And now you can chart your own path.
Yeah, and you can start creating more opportunities, giving more opportunities to other people. There's so many different ways to go. Like one thing that I'm thinking about, you mentioned about I forget the specific phrase, but I was thinking about the whole Power series. And I think the whole idea is just the idea of leverage.
The Marvel universe, the Hood Marvel universe.
The Power universe.
Yes.
Where but like before that even, when they were trying to get the show off the ground, he was taking, I think, about $17,000 per episode.
Right.
Making about $17,000 per episode.
And this is with Stars.
This is with Stars.
Yep.
We think about, 10 episodes, $170K, but you're not just acting, you're also producing, you're helping with like the promotion of it, and this is all included in that. And so when you're worth a few $100 million and you're doing something for $17,000 or $170,000 for the year, the justification monetarily isn't there on the front of it. But when you think about the long-term play,
oh my gosh,
and creating a situation where you're breaking into a new space in TV and you're trying to gain leverage, it makes perfect sense. You're seeing it through a different lens.
Yeah, and he did this, I mean, I believe he's left Stars since then, but like having the wherewithal to be like, yeah, I have an entire game plan. If they'll just let me in for this one season and I can show you my worth, I'll be able to basically put Stars on the map.
Put Stars on the map, and create that leverage where, like, because what was really smart is he did the Marvel play, where he had the first Power series, which ran a few years, but then after that Power series ended, he came out with 4 spin-offs at the same time.
And the only way to do that is to have the foresight to say, I need to develop these characters to the point where they're complex enough that they justify their own series.
Exactly.
That's insane.
And they all move into their own areas.
Yes.
And it's like the stuff is, and this is probably from an old contract, but it's still coming out right now. And so you're basically around all year where one cast or like one character goes into their own world in Chicago, then another one goes to upstate New York. And it's like all that stuff's happening at once where you're always on the TV screens. And just that whole buzz about how they created the show. Like, first of all, it was a nice evolution from music to TV, where every show starts with a song of his.
Oh, really?
So he actually gets play every time, every week, where somebody's listening to his music.
Use your own assets. Use your own assets.
Use your own assets and put your own song in front of something that you're creating.
Yeah.
But what's also really cool about it is he realized that in the music industry the music industry is evolving. Hip hop likes broken people, at least historically, or counterculture people. So when you become the culture in music, you are less attractive as somebody who wants to listen to you. People can't really resonate. And then even just practically, you're not having the same experiences as other people.
Right.
Because you have everybody waiting on you hand and foot, you're staying in presidential suites, and you can rap about that, and that can be aspirational for a bit, but it's not as quite the same as a come up, right?
Yeah.
Like, people like the come up. And
100%.
But he noticed that, and he said, okay, well, I can give my music through a different form. So not only does he just write for other people and give away songs, but you hear his music in the film. And you see it in like TV, and you see it on the screen. It's just a different experience.
It's interesting. There's 2 things that popped into my head as you were saying that.
Yeah.
One is like the wherewithal to kind of understand where the culture is, where it's headed, and how his persona fits in the middle of all of that. And to kind of be like, I'm gonna step back and focus on these other things, not because anybody told him he had to, or there weren't any like signs that he was like washed up or anything like that. But he was just like, no, I could see things moving.
Well,
and then
well, he did actually have some signs where it was washed up.
Really?
He talked about it when he was like, my first 2 albums were huge. He was like, Massacre did 11 million, et cetera, et cetera. Then his other album was like, I think it did like 1 million.
Oof.
And then this was also around the time where streaming started to come out, et cetera. And he was like, I was walking into the Interscope Records and people were still nice and cordial to me. He was like, but no one's gonna tell me that, like, hey man, we're kind of moving on from you. The industry's kind of over right now. He was like, Jimmy Iovine started making like a headphone company, thinking about how music was going to be more from like the portable devices, so like beat headphones and all that stuff. But he was like, I scheduled a meeting and initiated it myself and said, hey, I want to get into film, I want to get into this and that.
Right.
He was like, he kind of feigned being upset, like, oh my God, 50, you're leaving. He was like, but I could tell it was like a relief because my numbers weren't doing as great as they were before. And it wasn't just true for me, it was true for everybody. And so
but nobody else
on the wall.
would go in there and say, hey, I want to get fired. You know what I mean? Like nobody else would do that.
People would try to ride
that
it out.
wherewithal, I think is super important. Not only to be able to grow and adjust yourself to what's happening, but also there's a little bit of that where I feel like 50's playing a little bit on the scarcity. He's like, yo, I'm gonna step back from this limelight so y'all know what it feels like to not have a 50 in the room. And then when I come back, everyone's like, oh God, awesome, he's back. You know, and like that also sets up an entire arc of his stories. So
100%, man. It's like knowing when to leave the room and when to and okay, so that's really curious because one thing that we haven't really talked about is his relationship with Robert Greene.
Oh, 48 Laws of Power.
48 Laws of Power. That's a callback to Dove Charney, American Apparel. We talked about him in an earlier episode as well. But Dove Charney, he had a relationship with Robert Greene. 50 also has a really good relationship with Robert Greene. The difference is that 50's relationship is still continued. They wrote a book together, The 50th Law, which focuses on fearlessness and focuses on how he's cultivated that and how he kind of exudes that. And 50's also talked about his relationship where he was like, I've learned a lot from Robert and his history. And he was like, I never would have done that had I, you know, been in my old mindset. But then he was like, Robert's also learned a lot from me because it's like, in a lot of ways, I exhibit a lot of the things that he talks about in real time.
He lives it too, you know?
So that's kind of a little cool relationship right there between the two.
Yeah. I know Star's not doing so well anymore, but another cool thing that we might be able to wrap on is like the fact that 50 getting into his business era and continuing to be such a extremely successful entrepreneur. I believe he's in Connecticut now.
I'm not sure yet.
I believe it's Connecticut, but it could be somewhere else where he's basically building his own town. He's basically just saying like, hey, like I'd like to do this film and stuff.
I think that might be in Shreveport.
Shreveport,
Louisiana. Yeah.
Louisiana. Okay.
Yeah. He used to have a big ass house in Connecticut.
Was it that?
Yeah. It was like the old Mike Tyson mansion.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. And he used to live out there for like a large part of his earlier career.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Shreveport, the town that he owns.
Yeah.
He was like, I want to start doing filming. I want to start having a spot where things are just happening and I can make them happen. And Flagrant, he talks a little about like how he'd love to have a space where no matter what he needs, he can be able to get that. Oh, you want something to eat? Oh, I got this place. You want something to drink? I got this place. You want to watch a movie? I got like, and so he's building up this town to the point where in the next 20, 30 years, when people start flooding in to see all the cool things he's building, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna start leasing this land to all these major corporations that are gonna want to set up a spot in this growing town.
Yeah.
A McDonald's, a Starbucks, a Tim Hortons.
Well, okay, so
that's wild to me.
Okay, though that's really cool. So a couple things. One is that something that was really dope that he did in the area, I think to gain leverage, is he hosted a comedy festival.
And just brought all the heavy hitters.
Schultz, Dave Chappelle.
All of them,
like, the list goes on. Right?
And he was like, y'all don't even have to perform. The fact that you're just here is what I want.
And he just understands, like, just having the people here. And here's the thing, is after that, they had, there was some, like, things that they had to vote on in order to, like, give him, like, the ordinances to create and do all the things that he wanted to do. And so he commanded his star power and brought a whole bunch of people into this city that, like, obviously, like, bringing all these heavy hitters there, Matt Rife, like the white comedians and the black comedians, like, into this place where you're doing this festival and you have all these people here, and then saying, okay, now we're gonna go and vote on this bill. And you step up and you're like, yeah, you see what type of action I can bring here? That's huge. And so, yeah, it's just like, it's really intriguing to listen to that. But then another thing that I think about is something that we talk about often, is Dan Gilbert coming into Detroit.
Same play.
In the same play where it's like, let me show you my leverage. I'm going to bring my company down here, show you what we can do. And we look up like almost 10 plus years later, 10, 15 years later, what's happened here in terms of the whole city. 100%. It's like, it's stupid. It's like you moved you really changed the whole city.
And it's not like Detroit hasn't given back. I mean, Gilbert gets hundreds of millions of dollars in tax breaks, just like 50 will get in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It's a play that the richest people in the world run.
Yeah.
And he's executing it as 50 Cent, which is so cool to see, and something that can relate to this podcast.
Yeah, and you just see it there. So like, I think just like, again, in summary, it's like there's an evolution of every time you make decisions, there's an evolution of thinking. Not every time you make decisions, but when you make those big decisions that pan out in new terrain, you expand your comfort zone and you see what's actually possible. So yeah, man, I think like there's a lot here. There's even more that I want to get into.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Obviously, we're adding 50 Curtis Cent Jackson. No, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, 50 Cent to the lexicon of the founders on Founders Drive. There's definitely some more things that I want to get into.
I can't wait. This is gonna be good.
Super secret episode. Join us on Constance, and we're gonna go a little bit more deeper in here. Also, check out the other episodes, because just like we got into 50 Cent right here, we get into other founders, and there's a lot to learn, a lot to take away.
Heck yeah.
Until next time.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.